We've gotten our little kit here for our s'more, and it comes with 3 colors, a color for the chocolate, a color for the marshmallows, and a color for the graham crackers with a screw pin and a jump hook. Cool. It comes with 3 different types of pastel colors and a little bit of course sandpaper. Don't throw this out. You'll want to use this another day to texture. We're going to condition the clay first. You can't just start using it like this. Polymer clay needs to be conditioned, and that means it just needs to be worked to be activated. We're going to make our graham cracker. Now that you have your clay all rolled and conditioned, you're going to want to flatten it. Now, if you have a rolling tool, it's a silicone rolling tool, this is the best thing to use for it. If you're going to continue with polymer clay, you definitely want a silicone rolling tool. If you don't, you can put it on plastic wrap. You can smush it down, right? And then you can take a pen or anything that you have nearby that's gonna be flat. Let's see, this kind of looks like a pen. This is my craft knife. And start rolling it, right? You basically want to get it, you can do this too. It'll get kind of fingerprints in it, but you're going to texture it anyway. So you can roll it flat like that and just keep working it, getting it flatter and flatter. And it'll work out just fine. Look how flat I got this little guy. And that's just using a rolling tool. So next we're gonna flatten it. We're going to cut out the main shape. We are going to put in all of these little dots. And we're going to also texture the sides. Okay. This is a real graham cracker. Look at the colors. It's a little darker here. Actually, let's get some lights happening. It's a little darker here. Let's put this above it so you can really see. You're not going to have to do the inside texture. Here's the side so you can see. It's always good to have real food around to see what you're doing. If you can tell, the inside is lighter and the outside has been cooked and it's a little darker. And that's the same kind of thing that we're going for here. And it's easy with your colors. So let's go ahead and get the show on the road. Your rolling tool is very simple. See, it gets rid of all of the little fingerprints or anything. And you still got to look at it though to see if it's evenly rolled. Not quite. I think it's still a little too thick. Just kind of hold it down. You'll watch a lot of tutorials, and some people work on a ceramic tile that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's, and some people, like me, I like these little cutting boards. Some people work on a glass cutting board. I have that as well, but I always work on this cutting board here. Underneath it is a glass cutting board, and I work on plastic wrap because it comes right off. Cool. So I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to cut it. I know what shape I'm going for, so I didn't use this at all when I made my first one, but this might turn out even better. So now to cut it, you definitely want to use something sharp, like a razor. You don't want to try to manhandle it, or you want to use a razor. If you do not have a razor or a blade, this is where you cannot improvise. A knife won't work, and you don't want to use anything that you cook with and eat off of for polymer clay. So find a razor blade, and here we go. putting this in a spot where it won't collect dust. I should actually put it right back in where I got it from. Polymer clay collects dust, and then you have all these little particles all over your pieces. Okay, I'm doing it nice and slow for everybody. You can see what I'm really doing. This is tan clay, and I mixed in a little bit of yellow. Okay, there's a hair in it. Oh no, that's, yeah, it is, that's a hair. Hairs, lint, everything will get into polymer clay, so wash your hands really good before you start. And I dry my hands with a paper towel and not a dishcloth anymore, because I was getting lint from dishcloths. Lint is the enemy. You can easily get it off with a tiny bit of nail polish though. Okay, so there we go. Straighten it up a little bit. Looks like he curved. And where do we want the middle? That actually looks a little long for me, so let's cut it off. I'm really taking my time because I think a nice slow beginning tutorial is the best, and this kit was made for beginners. Okay, now we're gonna just eyeball them right about the middle. Oh, look at that, cool guys. Okay. You can take your sandpaper like this, you put it on sandpaper while you work it. And look what I have ready. I've turned on the oven already. You might want to do that. I have a piece of tin foil ready, right? But I also crumpled up this little piece of paper towel. You gotta watch it while it's in the oven, but usually paper doesn't burn at 275. And in a minute, we're gonna make this guy a little harder to work with. We're not gonna bake him all the way. We're only gonna bake him for 10 minutes. We're gonna put him on top of this. Let me show you why. If you're making polymer clay food and you're baking it straight on to the surface, sometimes this can happen. Where are we? I thought I saw a little bit here, maybe not. It's called a flat spot. Sometimes a flat, shiny spot can happen. Some people like that, but most people don't in polymer clay. It's like a flat, shiny spot. And you can avoid that by, some people use something called ceramic wool. You can put it on ceramic wool, then you don't really have to worry about any burning. But we're just gonna put it on a paper towel. Okay, so texturing. For texturing, you can use a number of things. You can use the little sandpaper I gave to you, right? This is a coarse grain sandpaper. You could use a toothbrush. I'm gonna show you all the different ways that I texture right here. I have this strange thing, like a really strange bristle brush. Get creative. Okay, so put him on here. I'm just gonna create some of this on the bottom. Isn't that cool? I like this because it is so coarse, it leaves such a nice delicate mark. Why are we even doing the bottom? I'll tell you why in just a second. Okay, isn't that cool? That's my gift to you. I did a lot of experimenting with polymer clay to find cool and easy little tricks that work. Oops. Okay, that's the bottom. And some of this will come off, that's okay. But the reason why we're doing the bottom is because you might not lay your little s'more down perfectly. And look, you can see inside of it. Can you see that? I can see that. And it's just really fun when it's like complete. It looks more realistic, right? Okie dokie. Now, this is the fun part. We get to texture the top and we get to draw in our little divots. Okay, this one's a little different. See, look at the square. It goes there's your 4 corners, like 1, 2, 3, 4, but in the middle of each one it has a dot. I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about with this one. This one set has 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And the one that we were looking at also, it was hard to see the middle perforation. It's there, so it goes like, it's there, it's just hard to see. But in other graham crackers, we know it looks like this, right? And then here's those little 5 dots I was just explaining. But in that graham cracker, they had 1 little dot in between these 2 and 1 little dot in between these 2. And I'm not gonna do that. So we're just gonna look at the corners and go like 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're gonna draw our little lines and we're gonna texture it before we start. Let's see what a toothbrush can do. Aha, we also use toothbrushes all the time with making pie dough and breads and baked goods and anything with flour. It's like the Polymer clay go-to tool. Do not use this toothbrush when you're done. It's your new craft toothbrush if you don't have one already. Ooh, cool texture, right? And then how much do you want to texture? Do you want to go like on top of that one more time? Would that be fun for you? Well, it sounds like it'd be fun. Do it. The reason why I use and discovered this very coarse texture is because you barely need to press it on for it to make a really nice texture. And you know, the more you press things onto polymer clay, you kind of bend the clay and stretch it, taking it off, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm liking that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw all of our little dots. So we're going to draw our dots this way. We're going to draw our dots this way. We're going to make our 5 little pokes. Now, you might not have all the polymer clay tools that, you know, I suggest or whatever. This is called a needle tool. I love it. There's different types of thicknesses of these. I don't think I'm going to use mine because mine has a little hook kind of going at the end. And I recall that screwed me up at one time. You could also use a pin or a toothpick. Or, this is my favorite tool. It was expensive. It's a craft knife, X-Acto knife, craft knife. I put off buying it for a long time because they're expensive. But I got it and I was like, how did I ever not have this? So I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can do this, okay? Most of you might have a toothpick. So let's make our lines. Can you see that? Yep. I don't love that. I didn't mess it up. It's just not deep enough. Let's try a pin. Better. Pin works much better. Yep. Okay. And I even pressed harder on the second line, as you can tell. So let's go and make our correction. nice. Let's do the same thing with the other one. Okay, I like that. Now, because I'm using some different tools than I used to make my original, because this is a home kit, you might not have everything, I'm going to use my other scrap of clay to see how well the toothpick works to make my little holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 4, like a square, and 1 in the middle. Okay. That works perfectly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. 1, 2. Okay, I'm going to put this on a time lapse as I go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on a little bit of pastel, and we're also going to texture the sides. So the best thing that you can use for texturing is this craft knife, but if you don't have it, use your pin. I'm going to hold these up just a little bit without bending it so you can kind of see how I'm going to texture, but then I'm going to put it flat again and just work it. So if you're using a pin, I don't want to really push it or hold my piece and smush all my work. I'm just balancing it kind of right now. Okay, watch this. Just go like that, just poke it. Poke, poke, pull, pull, see? Make sure you get the corners. Okay. I'm gonna lay it down and do that because I don't want to mess up my texture I just did. So I'm gonna do one side with a pin, then I'm gonna use my craft knife, okay? So I'm just putting it right down just like that. And now I'm kind of going back and forth just gently and roughing it. It's like roughing it up. Up and down, back and forth, just really gently. And you get nice texture with a pin. You get better texture with a craft knife. Okay, let me show you this, how it turned out with a pin. That was one side. Isn't that cool? That's really cool, right? Okay, I'm gonna put this on a time-lapse fast mode, and I'm gonna use my craft knife. Your pin's gonna take a lot longer, but you get a similar effect. I like the effect of this more, but I just showed you the pin method, and it looks great. It looks totally great. So let's do this. Now anywhere that I had a really kind of straight line, you can take your pin or your X-Acto knife and just rough it up a little bit. And if you notice with a graham cracker, those edges, it's almost like it baked up, so it looks like it's puffed up a little bit and a little tiny bit rounded on the sides. That's what I'm gonna kind of do here. I'm gonna take my finger and just go lightly go push, 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 push down. I'm pushing down, 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 down. Here, I'll push away from me. Down, down, down. Okay, kind of like that. That way I make the edges look a little softer, more rounded. Okay, you picking up what I'm putting down here? See, they look a little more rounded. Love it. Now we're going to use one of your lighter color pastels. The pastel color is this. I already have it right here, a little bit of it. And I'm going to use a yucky brush I'll have to use a nice brush, okay? Okay. And you're probably thinking, Amanda, what do I do if I don't have a brush? Well, you could wait until we bake it and then lightly smear some on with your finger and then try again. But a brush is easier. Okay, so we'll get some on here. And I always kind of go like on me or a paper towel. Make sure I don't have too much on because I don't want a big splotch of it. Okay. And I don't want to rub it hard because it'll rub my texture off. So I just kind of want to do a little like something like that. Okay, really, really, really super light. Yeah. And the color's already pretty darn good for a graham cracker, but just put more of this on. It just makes it look more real. You see how the shading's working already? Yeah. There. I think that's enough for right now. I'm gonna put this in the oven for 10 minutes on 275 degrees. That does not mean it's all the way baked. It just means it's a little harder for us to work with for our next step, which will be making the marshmallow and making the chocolate and smushing it together. And then we'll bake it for the full amount of time, an hour on 275, and then you will have a charm. Okay, so we've got our tin foil, got our little piece of, oh, that texturing looks so good. I'm glad I took my time. Put that there. Peel this off. Peels off so nicely. Like that. Right. Oops. Right there. Okay, let's bake her. These have just come out of the oven. 10 minutes. See, we still kept our nice texture on the bottom. Cool. They are hot. Put them right there. And we'll use this again later. Now, as you can see, ow, that's hot on my hands. Funny. Okay, as you can see, some of the pigment that we put on, we lost some of the color. But I wanted to show you another trick anyway. So, can you put color on already baked pastels? Heck yeah, that's why we love pastels, or love polymer clay, excuse me. You can keep working it. So we can go, and I'll show you the finger thing right now. I'm gonna show you the finger trick instead of the brush, because a lot of you won't have brushes. See, a little bit on my finger, rub some off, and then lightly, oops, and lightly go for it, right? There we go, cool. And this is still, it's not totally hard, it's still soft, especially when it's curing. You can use your finger, put some on. See, I'm getting some of that color. We're gonna lock that color in at the end with a fixative. You might not have, I use Barbethane. It's just a water-based polyurethane because that saves me a lot of money and I don't have to buy the Sculpey or Fimo. It's like a fixative. You can also use hairspray. It just fix it on, or a water-based craft spray, but it has to be water-based. Okay, so that looks cooler. Want to see something really cool we can do? You could stop here and we can start making chocolate, or I could show you something really cool. Did you know that you can make your chalk pastels here into kind of like a paint with just a little water? Now, I'm gonna blow your mind because I sent you pastels, these chalk pastels in your kit. But you can use paint, really just watered down paint to do this as well. Watch this. Little water, little pastel, and it dries really fast. I'm gonna go in the little crevices here. Cool, that adds a little bit more of kind of shading. It'll dry in just a second. Neato, right? You just need a little bit of water. And then let's go a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. See, and I'll put a little bit maybe, oops, that's too heavy. Lighten it up. Yeah, and then you can keep going over it too. A little here and here. Look how nice that is. Cool, right? So that's a trick. You know, I watch experts in the field, people I love that make the coolest stuff, and I've learned so much. Like, really, I don't have to use pastels at all. I can use cheap acrylic paint. Oh, that's interesting, because pastels can get expensive. I love pastels though, because I just love layering them on and stuff, and I think they look really cool. But you don't have to use them. And if you're really talented, you could just use paint. A long time ago in my group, I had somebody say, "Can you use paint?" And I said, "I really don't." But that's just because I didn't really know how. How pretty is that? Neato, right? And maybe I'll put a little over here. A little bit of water, just a tiny bit. A lot of times I work with a paper towel right by my side because I just blot all the time. I really like this color that I sent in this kit for the graham cracker color. That's pretty spot on, ladies and gentlemen. How do you like that? I'm gonna take a minute and enjoy that. Okay. Isn't color something? You can have all sorts of stuff wrong with a piece of sculpture or a drawing you're doing. You get the color right and all of a sudden it comes together. Okay, cool. I'm gonna move these to the side. Next, should we make our chocolate or should we make our marshmallow? Let's make our chocolate bits. I'm gonna condition this clay, and we all know what that means. It just means rolling it and activating it. When you roll it and activate it, it gets pliable. Okay, it's nice and soft and smushy now. So you can use your rolling tool, or you can kind of smush it down like this, or you can use a book even to flatten it. If you don't have a rolling tool, we're not going to flatten this all the way. This needs to have some height. It's a piece of chocolate, you know? Like a chocolate isn't just like a flat thing. It needs some height. So I'm trying to show you this for people that don't have a rolling tool. See, I'm just flattening it out using the plastic wrap that you already have. That's pretty good. How long is this and how long is this? Okay. All right, so we're going to make 2 or 3 little squares of chocolate. How many chocolates do you, I use Hershey on my s'mores when I make them for real. How many squares do you use? But when I cut them at an angle because they're kind of like, I'm making like an angled chocolate, kind of like, so it goes like, kind of like, what is that, trapezoid? So I'll make one here. I'll kind of show you. So I'm using my blade and cutting at an angle. Whoop. That was not a very clean cut. I'm gonna try that again. Yep, nice. See that nice little angled cut I made? I'm gonna do it again over here. Make a nice little angled cut. Whoop. Okay. I'm gonna make it a little flatter on top. Cool little trick there, right? Nice. Okay. And another angled cut on the side. Shoot. Ooh, that looks like a nice piece of chocolate. See how that turned out? Really cool. My lighting is weird. There. See, that comes out like a little angled piece of chocolate. How cool is that? If you don't like it, it's not totally perfect, well, just try again. Maybe I'll make this a little more angled here. That's nice too. I'm looking at it, I kind of don't like how this edge isn't straight, so I'll cut that. See, you just work it. Save all your little pieces because you're gonna make more. Now, when I originally made my first s'more, I did these pieces really tiny of chocolate. I put two in them. Can you see how tiny those 2 little pieces are? It's like really tiny compared to this huge piece of chocolate. So let's talk about scale. You can make yours any way you want. But let me break one of these. Okay, so this is a graham cracker, right? And you expect your marshmallow to be about that big, right? About that big when it's all smushed out. Your chocolate pieces are probably gonna be like 1, 2, 3. So now let's look at our piece. This is way too big. The chocolate probably needs to end there. We could probably make 2 pieces of chocolate out of this, but you can also imagine that you had a crazy big piece of chocolate and you put 2 in and it doesn't look bad. So you don't have to make it perfect. It'll still look realistic if you make a big honking piece of chocolate like this. I'm gonna make mine just a little smaller. And I think this time I'm gonna do 3 pieces of chocolate instead of 2. I'll just make this, I'll just cut this edge, zoop, like that. Kind of like it kind of big like that. I think that looks neat. Okay. And then I'll just make a couple more. So again, you take it, cut it on the side at an angle. Nice. I'm gonna cut this at an angle, make it just a little shorter. And then you just kind of do that until you get what you want it to look like. I think that's pretty good, but I think the top is a little rounded. I'd like some more surface area, so. Look at that, just like magic. All right, I think I'm gonna make a couple of those. I really like that size. I know realistically they'd be a little shorter, but I think I want 2 large pieces of, I think I want 2. I thought I wanted 3, but I'm gonna make 2 kind of big pieces. Now you can make tiny ones. Like I said, you can make the same way I made this, and these are tiny, tiny, tiny ones. But I wanna make this bigger and I want people to see the chocolate. Why? Because everybody loves chocolate. And you are essentially making a conversation piece. Yep, that's what you're making, conversation piece jewelry. So when I made my first one, I went, oh man, it looks like a s'more, but I lost the chocolate. The marshmallow wasn't big enough. And I like gooey marshmallows and chocolate, and so do other people. So this time, we're gonna do things differently, and we're gonna make it so the marshmallow really oozes over the side. Now you do not have what you need here to make the goo for the goo, a little bit of chocolate drizzle that I had coming out of here. See that little goo at the end, chocolate drizzle? What you use for that is a liquid Sculpey. This is what it's called. And you bake it. And if you watch my frosting tutorial here, you'll see how to make it. It's easy. You just cut these into teeny tiny pieces, and you use toothpicks and blades, and you cut it and keep stirring and stirring for like 10 minutes, and then you have the goo, and then you just put it on and bake. Some people though put like brown paint, a brown paint that would mix, or excuse me, that would match, and glue. And you can do that too. You could try that. I would try and do it first somewhere else, just make your glue, your Elmer's glue here, right? And put in the color, the brown color, see if you like it, and put it on a piece of paper, like for a day or something, and see if you like it. And if you do, then make it again when everything is baked, you know, and put it on there, and just kind of put it on there with a toothpick. I'm experimenting more and more with glue, making my own whipple cream, with air dry clay, etc. And I'm finding that Elmer's glue is my friend, and it's an alternative in a lot of cases to a liquid Sculpey, which is cool because liquid Sculpey is so cool and it's expensive. Okay, zoop. Ooh, it's better. Okie dokie. I'm pretty happy with that. And you have to remember that, yeah, they're not exact, but you're putting graham crackers on top of them. I should have this though the same length. They're not the same length. So let me just cut it one more time so they're at least the same length. Ooh, I like that cut I just did. People are going to see the edges. So a nice edge like that is cool. All right. Let's put that over to the side. I'm gonna put my excess clay in here because who knows, you just might have enough clay to do something, to make another charm or do something else. Okay. So I usually stop in the middle of where I'm working and I start cleaning up. Like here's all my bits from the graham cracker. Okay, now we're gonna get out your cool pastels and we're gonna use the two other, we're actually gonna use these three colors that you got for the marshmallow. My oven is on already. And when you make this stuff, it's not like you have to run as fast as you can to the oven as soon as you make it. No, it'll be okay. Just kind of cover it with a piece of plastic wrap so it doesn't get dust on it. But cool. Okay, so I like my chocolate like that. Let's use our last piece here to make a marshmallow. And we are not going to make marshmallow mistakes like last time by making the marshmallow too small. See, too small. We need more marshmallow. I heard there's like vegan marshmallows. That's kind of neat. I've been watching some cooking shows and they look really hard to make. Like the cooking shows make marshmallows. Their approach is that it's easy, but the more I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is a really timed event and timing is like a huge thing and you have to know what you're doing. So I would like to make marshmallows someday. I would like to make them in a pan and cut them into squares. But for today, look at all the lint in this clay. It's okay. Okay, we're gonna get it ready. I'll do a tutorial someday on white clay and how to avoid, you know what, lint. Okay, so what do we got here? We have a marshmallow that is gonna be way too big for this. Okay, so I think that's gonna be too big. Okay. I'm thinking, think real life. You're just working a miniature. Think real life. A real life marshmallow is gonna be like $50. Okay, it's gonna take up the real middle, and then as it melts or it gets smushed down when you put chocolate, it's gonna ooze out kind of to the edges. Okay, so that's what I'm going for. I'm like, if I mush this down, I think that would be too big. Let's keep going. Okay, I think that to me, if I was a gnome or a fairy and this was my s'more, that looks about right. So, okay. So I'm just gonna make it like this, like a marshmallow. How easy was that, right? Just okay. We're just gonna make it a marshmallow here. Cool. So it looks like a marshmallow. And the next part is the most fun. Okay. Well, actually, we're gonna texture it a little bit, and I need my plastic wrap back. Let's texture it a little bit. Oh, we got some marshmallow texture. There we go. Whatever. Looking nice. Cool. Now. When you smush a marshmallow down in between two pieces, it's kind of like a rapid movement, isn't it? It's just, you just put it all together, you go like that. So I'm gonna go, done. That's a smushed marshmallow. I'm gonna add a little more texture around the sides because people are gonna see the sides a lot oozing out. Okay, we love this sandpaper. Oh my God. All right. Now comes the fun part. You have these colors. Oops, what's that doing in there? You have these colors. darker one. Oops. Okay, that's a dark brown, just a tiny bit you need. A little yellow. Okay, you need very little of this. So I am, again, gonna use my brush, and look what I'm doing. I'm going like this because I don't have paper towel near me, but I'm getting the other color out of it. You know, you can wash these too, but this brush is really too big for this thing, for this piece, so I'm gonna kind of hold it, tap, tap, tap on my own hand, and think of where there's some areas in the marshmallow, right, and they get more toasted, right? That looks good. And a lot of times, does your whole marshmallow get toasted? Well, I actually like my marshmallows totally burnt. I'm that person that burns the marshmallow. I go for the charcoal flavor. But a lot of people like the perfectly toasted marshmallow. We'll start with the yellow, the lightest color first, right? Let's pretend you were that person that liked the total even Steven around the marshmallow, right? Total evenness, okay? All right, we're gonna add, oh, I think, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that shouldn't have been that color. It should have been this the same color we were using. I'm sorry. 3 colors I sent you. Okay, I'm using the same one. Then this medium brown. Ooh, that's too dark, but it actually looks good on this. Okay. Okay, a little too dark, but that's okay. Let's just say we got the dark end. That's why it's important to have a paper towel to do that with. But it still looks good. And then lastly, I'm gonna take the darkest color. I'm gonna use the paper towel over here and not screw that up. And this is like a real burnt part. You don't have to put this on at all if you don't want to. I'm gonna put it on a little bit here. I'm losing some of my texture, so I'm just gonna go like with my, again, dupe. There you go. Do you see how even the little brush wipes away your texture? And this is a really soft little brush. I'm gonna put maybe a little darker stuff here. Okay, that looks like a marshmallow to me. Okay, so the reason why, now this is all coming up to the end here, the reason why we baked these guys was so we can put everything together and not lose our texture, okay? We are also gonna have to have enough of the marshmallow coming out to put our jump hook in before we bake it. Now, what's wrong with this picture? I'll tell you what's wrong. We never painted the inside of this, which we couldn't. So I'm gonna take a little of the brown here, the brown that I sent you with my finger, and just go like this. It's not such a big deal because it's the inside, but I really want to get the corners good because I've made these before, and I know for some reason the corners kind of show up. This is what I'm talking about. See, when you put it together, you can see inside your corners. Now you could do it like this, or you could paint it on. Either way, you could paint it on too. Let me see. I'll wash my hands after this. Okay, not a big deal. I just put a little on just for, just if anybody saw those corners underneath, because we have the texturing already underneath, on the underneath part of the graham cracker. Cool. I'm gonna wash my fingers off because if I'm touching marshmallows and other things, I don't want to get all pastels on them. Okie dokie. Well, this is exciting. We have really kind of come to the end here. One thing that I did notice about my other one, that I didn't like, and I fixed at the end when I first did it, was that I really wanted to have these on the edges be a lighter color, but it doesn't look so realistic. So I do like that lighter color, but I am gonna add just a touch here and there to the edges. Boop, boop. Because for some reason, even though on a real graham cracker, the edges are lighter, it doesn't look as good. So maybe I'll make it look like it was more like cooked at the top, and that's just a little overlap. this is, you don't have to do this, but I just thought, okay, there, then I don't have to go back and do it. Are you ready? Let's do this. Wash my fingers again. A lot of my tutorials are a lot faster, but I went slow because I think that's the best way to learn how to do this, in my humble opinion. Okay. Oops, wrong side. Okay, make sure you get it on the right side. Now I'm gonna smush it down even a little more because I want more marshmallow oozing out. So just grab this, smush one more time. Oh yeah, that's a little better. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, before I even go any further, I'm gonna put my, I think this looks like a great place to put my jump hoop in, right between the graham cracker and the marshmallow. All right, so now that we've decided that that was gonna be the spot, right? You want to make it so you can see the chocolate too. So this is where the artistry comes in. If you're gonna hang it like this, how are you gonna see the chocolate? You wanna see the chocolate like this, more or less kind of sticking out a little bit. So how are we gonna do that? I think I'm probably gonna do like this, and like this. Right, so it kind of sticks out. Do I like that? Oh, I do like that. I'm gonna smush it all together. Oh, I definitely like the s'more more than my first one. Oh yeah, look at that. You don't even really need to do goo. Let's smush it down even a little more. Oh. Oh, look at that, smushy, so cool. We got the toasted on the end. Okay, I'm really happy with that. And in retrospect, look at how much bigger it is than my first miniature one. Crazy, huh? Okay, let's pop that in the oven and then we'll finish it. Bake 275 for 1 hour. Okay, these are out of the oven. I'm gonna get a little bit of my vervathane here in my cup and dab it off. You can also use, there's like a glaze by Sculpey, there's a glaze by Fimo. You want a matte glaze, you can use hairspray. Dot, 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 dot. Okay, I just don't want the pastel coloration to come off. That's it, so a little dot, dot, dot here and there. And like I said, you don't want it to be shiny, you want it to be matte, so I rub a lot of it off and I just dot it on there. You know, and as you become more interested in polymer clay, maybe you're already very into polymer clay, I would suggest getting pastels. I looked them up. You can get pastels for $12, you can get pastels for $80. Depends on what you want. I love my pastels, but I also use acrylic paints too, cheap acrylic paints. So yeah, we are done. Let me wash the vervathane out of my brush. Vervathane is a water-based polyurethane, and they have a gloss finish, a matte finish. Get matte for polymer clay food. You usually want matte. All right, so I'm gonna take some pictures of this babe now.